Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's the Tradie Hour. We have a continued conversation. It just constantly, week in, week out, the elevation, a brand new financial year, almost a month in, and certainly travelling as we're heading and running our trades and construction-based businesses throughout Australia, throughout New Zealand. Keep the commentary, keep the questions that have been created through our recent episodes in the Tradie Hour. Keep them coming. We have a great conversation here this afternoon lined up. We have two formidable business owners of trade-based businesses who over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years have been really committed to doing the best owners work, truly committed to building a business and continuing to navigate in recent times through COVID, now post-COVID. Now we're into this inflationary period. Now we're also into a period where, labour continues to be a very, very limited resource, particularly exceptional A-grade labour. And bringing people onto our team. Also, the importance of maintaining and growing your current team, setting the standards. These are some of the topics that we're going to be covering with you this afternoon. And I want to introduce our guests here this afternoon, our panelists, starting with John McKay from Rose Landscape Services, a formidable Melbourne-based business who has plenty of people on the team. Welcome, John. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here this afternoon.
Hi, Steph. How are you going? Thanks for having me.
Right, really good. Really looking forward to unpacking the whole conversation around materials, team. You've had a significant challenge with being understaffed in recent periods, but somehow you continue to get through and you keep on delivering on time and on budget, and your business is slowly but surely growing in a specific way. How many people do you have on the team right now, John?
27.
Fantastic. Mate, just when you say that, 27 people on the team, did you ever feel you'll ever get to this level? Did you ever know, that this will be the level that you're running a business in landscaping and landscaping services at that?
Oh, look, it probably wasn't on the radar when we started out, but as we went along and we got more capacity, it became clear that was a possibility.
And when you, I remember when my mentor ever asked me, "Do you have any regrets, Stefan, about growing the businesses you have?" I have to think about that, right? Because there are some uncomfortable moments, and growth and continued growth definitely present uncomfortable moments. And just hold that thought for a moment, John, because I'll introduce our next panelist, Joe Caprara from Casiform, an unbelievable sales and hire-based business to the propping, shoring, and formwork equipment. Joe, you do a better justice. What is it that Casiform has an exceptional reputation in the market for across the Australian seaboard?
Thanks for the invitation, Steph. Basically, we support the building construction contractors industries to achieve sort of innovation, safety, and cost efficiency through sort of specialised engineering services, and we integrate the equipment supply to creating solutions for customers. So that's kind of what we do. We don't actually do the installation. We don't supply labour on site. All we do is provide the engineered solutions and offer the equipment that we've got, but we can also go to our competitors for products as well if need be.
So this is really interesting because I guess you'd be at the forefront of seeing the opportunities and/or what we're hearing in the market. Geez, things seem like they've slowed down a bit. I mean, at Business Benchmark Group, we don't see not much slowing down. What we have seen is C and D grade builders and/or construction ideas certainly slowing down, but the A and B graders are continuing to push through. But at Casiform, I would suspect, Joe, that you're at the forefront of seeing trends in the construction industry that many other trades get to see a lot further down the track. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, it is a fair assumption, Steph. Look, we've had our cycles, we've had our ups and downs. Typically we would see the industry sort of firing back up in February of each year. We sort of see this lull between December and February, and it usually kicks off again in February. This year, unfortunately, we didn't see it really kicking in until probably April. But I think it's going to be power on between now and the end of this calendar year at least. I think there's a lot happening, a lot of new projects that are kicking off. There's a lot of childcare centres being built. There's a lot of infrastructure still happening. So yeah, we see a positive year in front for us. Our revenues, from sort of 2 months ago, probably will double by next month, I would think.
Yeah, that's a fantastic forecast. And again, the next 6 months as it relates, a brand new financial year is certainly, almost a month in now, and we're looking towards the end of the year. And what we're seeing also, Joe, and I'll get John involved too, because he works on some amazing projects with his landscaping services as well. We're starting to see, the first half of, January, February, March starting to be looking a little promising with many of our clients here at Business Benchmark Group. So the type of builder, the type of development that you work on in terms of your product, your service offering, what would be a reference point, Joe? Just so that, again, we can paint a picture here. What type of project do you typically work on so that, you're seeing, I guess, the future as it relates to the productivity future for many trades in the next year or so?
Yeah, some of the high-end stuff, as in the multi-stories, 30, 40, 50-story jobs, they've sort of really, really slowed. Where our sort of ideal target market is now is the low-rise, 5, anything from, say, 2 to 8, 10 stories. There's a couple of 13, 14, 15-story jobs in the mix. It's sort of that lower-end tier builders that we're working with, and they are more our ideal target market for different products, of course, for the formwork. When it comes to the tier ones, which we've always worked with, by the way, that sort of dropped off a bit, and they took a special product anyway, which is propping only. But the formwork market is definitely picking up, which is our ideal target market, really.
And that also is a vision, a crystal ball into the productivity that's coming for trades that are following, which is exactly what we want to be hearing, and we get to see it intimately here at Business Benchmark Group, the progression and the continual work in progress schedules for all our clients across all trades. John, you're almost like Joe's almost one of the first services into a project, and John, you're at the other extreme where you're creating the last little piece of beautification before the keys are handed over to occupancy. Let's call it.
Our jobs look beautiful.
I often joke that next life I'm going to come back and be the first one in to do site scrapes, so the rush isn't on.
So tell me more about that. What are you seeing? I mean, you're at the end of the cycle, right?
Look,
as it relates to the building and cycle. So why do you say what you just said with a tongue in cheek, of course?
Oh, look, I actually don't. I don't see it slowing down too much in the next 12 months. There's just a backlog of work to complete. Look, beyond that, I couldn't be certain. One thing that we have got is that, as opposed to, when I was growing up and trying to get an apprenticeship, the super had only just come in the 80s. Now there's massive amounts of money in super funds that they want to keep reinvesting. So a lot of it's based around, we're finding around warehousing and logistics, which was where we're finding a lot of work. New estates being cut up as well, housing estates. And I think back to the GFC, and the first thing that slowed down was the architects with inquiries and new work. The architects that we speak to, that we deal with, landscape architects, are saying that the work is still flooding in. So at this stage, I don't know when there'll be a slowdown, but I would expect with interest rates at some stage there'll have to be some sort of correction.
Yes, and the speculation is that interest rates will continue to increase, and then there's the element of even right now with 2 interest rates in recent times having gone already the way up in Australia and in other parts of the world, that the heat in the market hasn't exactly stopped. It has stopped in certain pockets. And there's an installation period that suggests that even if there was 3 or 4 or 5 more interest rates, the part of the market that will certainly slow down is in many cases understood. But the part that won't will be definitely the infrastructure and civil and certain types of construction that no matter what happens, we are 30 years behind. Population is expected to be 54 million people in Australia by 2050. Now, if you think about that for a moment, so we're talking about in the next 20 to 30 years, our population is going to continue to grow towards doubling. If I'm in a type of construction sector, or if I'm in a trade and or committed to even residential, like you think about, these people need to be housed. These people need roads. They need places to be skilled and hospitals to be built. We heard earlier Joe talk about childcare centres and the importance of having that amenity. So if you think about and you understand the landscape of Australia and its population growth, the inflationary economy that we're experiencing right now, yes, it's a bit of a speed bump, and for many of us, and let's be really clear here, the last time we had an element of an inflationary period goes back to the mid 1990s, where there were years in a row of this type of economy. So when you think about where we are today and interest rates going up, I feel the biggest issue in the world right now is the lack of available resources. I feel, and this is not just an Australian problem, it's a problem that definitely filters throughout the world right now. Our clients in the US, our clients in the Northern Hemisphere, we all are having the same question about where are the people? We need people. I think that post-COVID is definitely looming as the continued challenge. And we'll talk about that because that's such an important, and I want to hear both of you speak to that, because you guys are business owners who are doing, as best you can, leading a business, creating an environment where your people are growing, and therefore the ability to keep on attracting new talent to the organisational chart is one of the challenges that I feel is the challenge to be conquered. So, John, you shared earlier, 27 people, the opportunity is there. You're continuing to scale a business that doesn't just rely on you. Joe, from your perspective, how many people do you have on the team?
Got about 15, Steph.
Yeah, so in the last 6 or 12 months, you've definitely had headcount growth, and your business model is slightly different to John's, where John's business is definitely much about on the tools, in the service, on the ground, whereas you're very much a service provider to the builders and the form workers out there. So if we think about your headcount growth in the last 12 months, where have you continued to put more effort, energy, more resourcing?
Into sales.
So what does that mean? I mean, in a business like yours, it's a service provider. You have continued to put more resources into account management and business development, sales. Why is that the case? What do you see as it relates to the future for you to invest in sales?
Look, I guess from, we talk about sort of recessions and people talk about all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I think you've sort of said, Stefan, that even recessions, the economy goes back, 7%, 10%. It's not huge. Like, it doesn't disappear. It just might mean you need to work harder. And that's part of our strategy, is moving forward. Let's just bring the sales on. I mean, we've got the luxury of having a reasonably high, GP and net margin business. So, the salespeople, need to cover their wages, but we know what those numbers are. So we can tell if the sales rep is making their, making their bacon or not. I want to reflect on something you just said, Steph. Like, just in round numbers, if you said there's a growth of, say, 20 million people over the next 30 years, let's say an average of 4 people living in a household, because that's the average family, 4 people, that's 5 million homes. 5 million homes, right? And that's over, say, 20 years, which is whatever that works out to be. That's about 400,000 homes a year. That is phenomenal. But you're right. That's what people need to stay focused on, not these little dips in the economy, little swings and roundabouts, or interest rate rises, or, geez, the government's done this or the government's done that, or COVID, or, it's still, you've got to focus on the future.
You do, and you got to keep your eye on the current. And somewhere between that is have you got a plan that's moving the business forward?
Yeah.
You know, when things go down, what are you doing about getting up? When things are up, what are you doing about leveling it out and just, truly just staying the steady race, right? And it's really important. And from your perspective, John, when you think about, okay, I have 27 people on the team, I'm the owner of a continuously successful landscape services business. I'm very clear about who my customer is. It's commercial and industrial, and you shared a little as to the type of work you do there. What do you see as your looming challenge over the next 12 to 24 months? What do you see as it relates to the challenge that you will need to face in your business and ultimately conquer?
Look, obviously, manpower. We need to keep working at finding good people. There are good people out there. We have found good people in this tough market. So look, we'll just have to keep looking there. One thing that we also do is we invest quite a bit in machinery, but even that's got a lag on now. I was talking to JCB and Kubota both, and that they're sort of talking 6 to 15 months for machinery, depending on what machines you're looking for. So there's a whole new booming second-hand market out there of old excavators and loaders and tractors and the like. So just trying to scale up on that side and just look for any new efficiencies we can make internally in our administration, whether it be estimating or any other processes that we're crossing over on, and just try and take a little bit of pressure off and create a little bit of time.
And John, for your business, which again we sort of we sort of touched on earlier, how you're definitely at almost the last cab off the rank, let's just say, and the frustrations that have certainly come with that in recent times, in terms of the supply chain upstream with other trades and the schedule being pushed out. What are you seeing any changes to the scheduling in recent months? Like, you think about the start of the year. You think about the last few months, May, June, July. Are you starting to see a different sort of flow in the scheduling, or are we still a little behind in the schedule as you understood it?
Oh, look, there's still challenges. Obviously, people need to take a week off if they get COVID, but some of the things, like, for example, one of our project managers, in the first week of school back, his daughter, that was in year 12, got COVID. He came back to work for, I can't remember now if it was 1 or 2 weeks. Then his daughter, who's at university, got COVID. So he's had to take 2 weeks off in a month to isolate, and he didn't have COVID. So look, some of those things have eased up. There's still ongoing issues with product coming out of China, some raw materials and some finished products. A lot of that's based around that we found have been around plumbing products and pipe irrigation products. Look, the other thing that's ever looming, I suppose, as a challenge on top of that is inflation, which we've just got to keep an eye on and try and lock in prices with our suppliers as soon as we get contracts, and just try and manage the jobs through as best we can. But we're hoping that some of the sequencing issues that have happened on site, due to people not being there, will be eliminated, or not eliminated, but lessened.
Yeah, and we're definitely starting to see some trending with many of our clients that literally were waiting 3, 4, 5 weeks for the trade before, or the 2 trades before, to get in, and they were just sort of waiting, and it was significant downtime, let's call it. But you can't, again, if you're a plumbing mob, or you're a electrical fit out mob, or even a joinery mob, you can't get in and do your work because the framers haven't finished, or the plasters haven't finished, or and the knock-on effect of all that. So really, really good to see that in the last 3, 4, 5 weeks we're starting to see the original schedules of our clients' businesses, regardless where they are in the end-to-end piece of construction, starting to flow in a more positive way. Joe, as it relates to the market that you're in, as it relates to, you're constantly on the search globally for the for systems that defy the norm, defy what people have come to know as it relates to propping. What do you see as opportunities for builders, construction, for form workers to be thinking about as it relates to the new era, the new way forward? Because you're always on a global scale, and you have a great team that does this with you in terms of looking at the latest and the greatest and making it easy for people to apply new ways, more efficient ways as it relates to formwork and scaffolding. What are you seeing at a global level as it relates to new and innovative systems to improve efficiency?
Oh, that's a big question.
I know, mate, and I'm asking the right guy.
Yeah, we're always scouting out, as you said. We're always scouting out, and I suppose now is more time, very important to have those networks globally. I mean, we've put some deals together that of recent times that, a lot of our competitors wouldn't be able to put together because they don't have the contacts that I've got. And I'm talking even corporate companies. The corporate companies think they've got the contacts, but they don't. They don't have it at the grassroots where I do. I mean, like I'm looking at products in the Middle East at the moment. I put together a big deal for a large client in Queensland, which is looking for gear that I found in Italy. It's having these contacts makes all the difference. I've got to say, in economies like this, Stefan, is also it's also a great time because this is where the opportunities come up. For those that have got their fingers in the pie, that are looking at things around the world, or even globally, or even in your local market, this is where the opportunities lie to make some real serious stuff now.
And I'm also a very a huge believer in how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you've had a business that's day one, and the continuum of building relationships, constantly being at the forefront of, okay, what can't I see? What don't I know? Always looking at, okay, is there a better way to do this? I believe, and again, relationships is a big piece, and trades and construction is somehow, there's a myth or it could be real. You guys will know better than me. It's myth or it's real. Like, it's very easy to burn relationships in the trades and construction industry, and that doesn't serve anybody. So being really clear about the relationships, the ability at a grassroots level to go upstream, and at a very top level come downstream, where you're adaptable and definitely approachable by many. So I love the way you just unpacked that, Joe, and it is important. Like right now, every one of us could be in our trades and construction businesses holding a diamond, and all it needs is a little bit of polishing or a little, just pivot it a little this way to see, hang on, what does this show me here as it relates to the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years? And the economists that predict that the Australian population to be at 2050 at the range of 50 million people plus. These people have not just picked that number out of nowhere. It's very much a controlled and sequential opportunity. If you think about the first thing that happens in major cities anywhere in the world is civil and infrastructure goes first. The roads go first, right? Then you see hospitals and schools second. This is the wave that we're experiencing definitely in most major cities in Australia. And whether you're a trade-based business just looking after domestic and or residential, even renovations for that matter, or you're someone that has a lot more, on the line, and you're doing multi-story, multi-level developments and or great, greenfields being developed. It makes no difference what you choose to be your ideal customer. What makes the difference is, as an owner of a construction and or trade-based business, what are you doing to be the chosen one? What is your vision of excellence? So with that, just hold your thoughts, guys. We're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back to unpack what is our vision of excellence as it relates to the people piece in our businesses, because business is a people's thing. If you don't get good at the people thing, internally, we have a challenge externally, and that's where the money is left on the table. So a couple of moments, we're going to have a break. I'm going to come back and unpack what is this thing that is right now the biggest issue in trades and construction, not only in Australia, but globally, called people.
Preview.
Welcome back, and thank you, Joe from Casiform, and thank you, John McKay from Rose Landscape Services. We're here at the Tradie Hour. We're so into a conversation, and what we're going to finish off this afternoon's episode with is getting the right people on the bus. This is where I see plenty of work needing to be done. Plenty of us are truly turning up at the last minute to that bus stop, hoping that we're going to be picking up the right people to join our business. And in fairness, the work should have been done in the first hour, not the 11th hour. So this is what I learned very early in my business ownership career, very early. And I thank Basil Port for helping me many years ago get this right. The right people being really clear and understanding their right roles, and being very accountable and understanding how they get measured to their right responsibilities, getting paid the right money will always deliver the right results. This, as we know at a Business Benchmark Group, is the 5 R's as to building a team that totally supersedes the owner, has a business that could run under management and or building exitability and affording investors to be lining up to buy the business in 3, 4, 5 years' time. So as we share and unpack, what is it that we have as a vision of excellence? What is it that we have as a vision of excellence to be our culture, the way we do things in our business? What is it that we need to be A-OK and or having the uncomfortable conversations with our team, upstream, downstream, side to side? I heard this amazing quote the other day. Our success in life is directly attributed to how many uncomfortable conversations we have had. So when it comes to creating a culture of excellence and building a trade and or construction business in Australia, in New Zealand, in the USA, in the UK, anywhere, any third world country, anywhere in the world, it is about building people. And people being aligned to belonging to something that's going somewhere. I'm going to start with you, John. As you see this and you understand this, you're up to 27 people, and it's not about being big. It's about being able to scale in a methodical and excellence first sort of way. What speaks to you as you share this, as you see this, and what is your vision of excellence as your business continues to be at the forefront as a benchmark business?
Look, I think it goes back to basics. When knowing what your work in progress register looks like, knowing what your quote register looks like, and planning your growth. If you're just going to struggle if you just say yes to everything. Something's going to go wrong. So if you've got an idea of how much work you've coming up over the next 6, 12, 18 months, you can start to plan. How many people do you think you'll need to do estimating, project management? How many people you need on your admin team? How many people you need as foremen, supervisors? How many workers will you need? How many trucks? How many pieces of equipment you'll need? You can plan back from there and work your numbers to match your org chart and make some progress that way.
I love that. And having an org chart, I love that. Having an org chart as to what does this organizational chart look like when we're at, the next $1 million in invoiceable work? Or what does it need to look like if I need to pull back on $500,000 worth of invoiceable work? Because the org chart is a tool. And as owners and leaders or, pilots on our plane, we get to pull those levers. And the first thing we need to do is at least see What does it need to look like? I love that, John. Great. Joe, from your perspective, your vision of excellence as it relates to the people piece, you've been in business for a long time. You know and understand they will either make you or they will break you, right? So what is it that this sequence and or formula speaks to as it relates to the current environment we're in for you?
Well, goodness me, having the right people on board makes life so much easier. I think you've always said, and my coaches over the years have always said, employ people that are better than you, and I've definitely got that around me. I can tell you. I've got Kelly in sales, who's just brilliant. I've given her the responsibility this year of putting on and assigning, the staff in the sales area and training them, and it's proving to be the right choice. I can't be everything everywhere in the business, and getting the right people in the right roles with the right responsibilities makes the difference. It works, so you can't not have it. There's always a challenge in stepping back out of a business, but the only way you're going to do that is with the right people and the right roles and the right responsibilities in place. And the right amount of money too. I think that's a key as well. It's not necessarily all about the money, but it does help. You can't be underpaying in the marketplace. Your comment before about having those hard discussions, it's an interesting, I'd never heard it put that way, Stefan, but you're kind of right. It's you're right. You're definitely right. It's those hard conversations that get the team working the way they need to work.
And when you think about leadership, Joe and John, and we can open this up to an open discussion here. When you think about leadership, the hardest thing about leading or being in a leadership position is actually leading. And leading is about being one step ahead, seeing things from a different view, a different angle, perhaps 1 to 3 days, 1 to 3 months, 1 to 3 years before anyone else can. And the job of leadership is somehow the pressure, the heat of keeping it all aligned. And when is the right time to share more? When is the right time to be more transparent? When is the right time to not confuse the work that we've already committed to versus the work that's coming? And I'm talking about the structural pieces of the business. And that, to me, over almost 30 years of being in business and leading teams and watching plenty of teams in my very privileged space as a CEO and founder of Business Benchmark Group, it is the one thing that just keeps on surprising me, the power of team. And what I mean by it keeps on surprising me, the level that a team can take a business, an idea, an opportunity is absolutely, it can't be measured, the power of having as many as possible on one page moving in one direction. Now, what that means is that there will be healthy debates about stuff, and sometimes it's going to feel like it's petty, but you got to stay in the heat of the conversation. And it's not my way is the right way or my way or the highway. It's definitely about let me listen and ensure that people are being listened to. That doesn't mean we run our business under popularity wins the game. It means like, that's great. I'm thanking you for your feedback. However, we go back to this is the way we're doing the business. And then there's times when you thank you for your feedback. Let's consider how we do that. So it's really interesting. Leadership is it's a very fickle and a constant moving challenge, opportunity, and leadership is not a majority rule situation. It's just the way it goes. John, are you still on the tools? How long has it been since you've been off the tools? Let me just ask that question. I feel for you.
Look, I jumped on a machine the other week for the first time in a while. Had to remember how to use it. But look, no, I haven't really been on the tools for probably 4 or 5 years now.
So what's it like to have a business that's gone 5x, like you've grown it 5 times over in the last 4 or 5, 6 years, and you're no longer on the tools? Like, what's your greatest challenge as you were coming off the tools? What was your biggest challenge?
Look, as you sort of come off the tools, obviously you're losing a profit earner in the business, so there's a little bit of adjustment there. But the other thing is you sort of need to realise that when your phone's ringing all day and you've got things to organise, you go out on site to try and help people, and for the most part, you end up getting in their way.
That's a great way of putting it. So you start meddling, John. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes. Meddling in the sense of we'll get all this done, and then you spend half the day on the phone, and you're not being productive, and it's just not practical. It's just you're just getting in people's way.
Absolutely.
We give them the agency to do and give them, accept that they're going to get in there and have a go. And look, they'll make mistakes, but so what? So did I from time to time. And it's a natural thing as long as everyone goes home safely and that we don't have anything that's too big. Usually it's a mistake. They might be running late and ordering something, getting materials onto site or something minor like that. We don't generally have, touch wood, any big mistakes. So you've just got to let them go and learn themselves.
Excellent. And Joe, just as one of the final questions here this afternoon at the Tradie Hour, brought to you by Business Benchmark Group. As you reflect on your years in business, 25, 30 years plus, and you think about leadership, when you think about leadership, Joe, what's the one or two things that you could say, okay, the things I've learned versus the things I should have learned earlier about leadership are? What are two things? I know I've got you on the hop here, mate. That's how we roll here. But what are two things that you could share with our audience today regarding what Joe has learned about leadership to do or not to do? Just two things.
Look, I think it gets down to employing the right people, giving the right responsibilities, and also my role now is becoming more sort of a policy setting, I guess, setting the guidelines of what I'm expecting from people and from within those roles, and then letting the team, work to those policies. That's probably one thing I've learned, and procedures do make a difference as well, like getting consistency in the business and the way we approach things. So they're two major things. Leadership has been a bit of a challenge for me over the years. I'm still quite actively involved in the day-to-day, but that is transpiring. It's shifting. So that's sort of transitions that we all need to make, I guess, and I'm making it. But I think in my case, I've got a bit of an information flow missing in the business, which once I can get over these hurdles, it might make my transition a little bit easier, but I need to get over them first. So,
and it's an interesting, it's a place of vulnerability, isn't it? As you're letting go, you want to let go. It's now the right time to be letting go. And then you realise, hang on, there's this one little piece still to go. And there's this conversation, this I call it the healthy debate. Yeah. And the healthy debate's going on in my head, by the way, right? More than anywhere else, right? So the healthy debate and the identity shift, pushing back, pulling back. Also the feeling of, I feel guilty because I'm actually pulling back. I'm feeling guilty. It's one thing to be pulling back because the time is right and you're truly invested in that transition. It's another thing to be pulling back and then coming to terms with, I am now becoming an investor in the business, no longer the owner or the CEO in the business, let's call it that language. And then there's this period, in my experience, of guilt. There's this period of, I'm now shifting from this role to this role as the leader, and I'm allowing others to do leadership stuff. I'm now feeling guilty because I'm no longer knee-deep in the do-do, right? And that's an interesting, for many of us here this afternoon listening to this episode, that is a distinction that you must do your best, in my opinion, to not get in the way of. If you're feeling guilty of the identity shift, or you're feeling like you still need to be, the person navigating the way forward, just let it go. Just truly embrace trust and transparency in your business, and let that play out. And that's how we create environments that foster empowerment, that foster, things can go wrong, will go wrong, whether it's me on the driver's seat, as John was saying, or someone else. Our ability to catch it soon and do something about it is our ability to ensure feedback and growth, engagement in our business continue to be in the forefront. John, in the next couple of years, in the next 12 months, what do you predict for Rose Landscape Services in the next 12 months as we say goodbye to today's episode? What are your parting shots?
Oh, look, I think we've just got to manage the growth carefully and make sure we've got good liquidity. We've obviously got to have a good team, which we've discussed. Plenty of cash reserves, pay our suppliers on time, and just in case there does come a time in this bumpy ride that we need to ask a favour, make sure we're looking after our suppliers as well as our customers and our team.
Beautifully said. Thank you, John. Thank you for participating this afternoon. Joe, as you see the next 12 months, what's your parting shot as it relates to trades, construction, CASA form in the next 12 months?
Yeah, it's an interesting time for us, given there's a huge shortage of manpower and materials in the industry. We're finding a huge shift towards customers wanting systems, which is really what we specialise in, is wall systems, pan systems, suspended slab systems. So I think, I back sort of John's comment, really. I think we've just got to be, have the cash reserves, make sure we pay our suppliers on time, make sure that our staff are kept happy and working towards we've got total alignment with our team. And it's going to be interesting times with this inflationary period. It's, I've been through other inflationary periods, but I don't know, it just seems so bloody long ago that I've forgotten how to manage through it. We just got to keep our eyes on the ball, keep an eye on the cash flow, keep an eye on our work in progress and our quote registers, which at the moment for us is looking relatively healthy. So,
yeah, power to you. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, John. An amazing episode just shared with the industry and the Tradie Hour brought to you by Business Benchmark Group. Thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us and providing some insight that I feel was right on point as business owners who are truly navigating your business to the next level. Congratulations and keep on doing the great work that you do. Thank you, everybody.